Okay, today is 12/9/2020, part 3 of cardiac lecture. I will skip through some of these things. I won't stop at a lot of them. This is only going to be a need to know information, so I'll tell you what to put in. All right. So these next two slides are very important. They're cardiac output. Okay. Cardiac output, in short, is the amount of blood that is pumped through the body in 1 minute. You need that cardiac output to sustain things moving in your body, the heart moving around nutrients and all those type of things, okay? So you need those things. All right, so cardiac output, the amount of blood pumped by each side of the heart in 1 minute. Here is the formula: CO, heart rate, times stroke volume. Okay? Stroke volume, the volume of blood pumped by each ventricle in one contraction. Okay? So bullet number 2 or number 3 is the one that is most prevalent or important in this particular slide. Now we'll move to this one here. Cardiac output, CO equals heart rate times stroke volume, okay? For example, 75 beats per minute, right? Because our normal range is what? What's our heart rate range? 60 to 100, right? So we're always going to be, you know that number is always going to be in there. So when you get the sheet today, you're going to be able to have to answer some questions based on the philosophy, okay, of those numbers. So you got 75 beats per minute, and the stroke volume is 70 mils per beat, okay? The normal stroke volume is 5,000 mils per minute, okay? The entire blood supply passes through the body once per minute. The cardiac output varies with demands of the body, okay? So you'll have more on the basketball court, you have more cardiac output. Why? Because you have more what? Stroke volume. Right? So is your heart beating as fast sitting there as it is when you're running up and down the court? No. So when you're running up and down the court, does your oxygen demands increase or do they decrease? Huh? Increase, right? So your oxygen demand increases with you running on the court. So now that's where your stroke volume is going to come from, okay? The more of the demand, the more stroke volume you need. Now, I want you to keep that in mind as we move forward. Keep that right there, the image of the basketball court and your stroke volume increasing opposed to you sitting in the chair, okay, or you sitting still, right? Your stroke volume increases, even something as minuscule as you walking up the stairs when you're assembling yourself to play in the band. Your stroke volume increases. It has to increase because you're using more oxygen opposed to you just sitting down, okay? So cardiac output varies with the demands of the body, okay? Stroke volume usually remains relatively consistent, okay? You have Starling's law. The more that the cardiac muscles are stretched, the stronger the contraction, okay? So if the heart is here, right, and it's beating and it's doing this, if you're running, the heart starts doing this. So now it's stretching, right? It's stretching, right? It's stretching. So if it's stretching, the stronger the contraction. We're talking about Starling's law. The more that the cardiac muscles are stretched, the stronger the contraction. So when you're running, it's more stretching, okay? Heart gets bigger. Now, we'll go on from that. Changing the heart rate is the most common way to change cardiac output, okay? So you would need this philosophy and these numbers if you go into any kind of pulmonary rehab, if you work in any of those athletic labs or anything like that. they will oftentimes want to know what cardiac output is. Of course, if you become a cardiac doctor, any of that, pulmonologist, any of that, then yeah, you definitely need to know all this. All right? Increased heart rate, sympathetic nervous system, low blood pressure, hormones, epinephrine, thyroxine. I'm not really interested in you knowing all that. That's kind of down the line for you, so don't put too much into that. All right. Parasympathetic nervous system. Okay. So your parasympathetic nervous system. Okay. Parasympathetic means that with the demand of you or any of demand of exercise, the heart automatically knows to increase its stroke volume. That's what parasympathetic is. Parasympathetic means something automatically knows to increase. You don't have to physically say, ooh, I gotta think, let me think, and so my heart will increase. You don't have to tell the heart to increase. Okay? It automatically knows to increase. Okay? That is a parasympathetic system. Okay? Parasympathetic nervous system. High blood pressure or blood volume, decreased venous return. All right? Those things you're not going to know until later. Okay? In congestive heart failure, the heart is worn out and pumps weakly. Digitalis works to provide a slow, steady, but stronger beat. Okay? So congestive heart failure. Congestive heart failure is when the heart is kind of smothering. Okay? Congestive heart failure, so your heart is beating like this, right? And so the heart around it is filling up with fluid and other things. So it's beating. So now it's doing this. So does it have a greater stroke volume like this, or does it have a greater stroke volume like this? The first one, right? So you're stretching the muscles and you have a greater stroke volume. Okay? With congestive heart failure, things fill up, fluid fills up. Most of the time, those people, if you have a grandmother or somebody that may be sick around and they say, I'm taking a water pill, if you ever heard that, well, that's a diuretic. And what that does is it helps them urinate. And when they're urinating, it takes the pressure off the heart. So now the heart's not doing this, it's doing this. Okay? So basically, it's just smothering you to death. And eventually, of course, these people will die. Have CHF? Yeah. Eventually they'll die, and it's not because that, it's just because the heart is tired. It's tired. It's trying to keep up with the demands of walking, something simple like walking or anything like that. So it's trying to keep up with those demands. So that's why I tell you guys, it's important for you to be active and have a relatively healthy lifestyle. I'm not going to lie, I like soul food. I just had some the other day. I had me some greens and some mac and cheese and some, fried chicken. I like it, but I try not to eat it all the time, okay? Because you can build up arteriosclerosis, and that is the plaque that is in your arteries that slows down the blood flow going through your heart, okay? And that can be a real problem. It is a problem in the African American community for the most part, okay? All right. Congestive heart failure, decline in the pumping of and efficiency of the heart, inadequate circulation, all right, progressive, also coronary arteriosclerosis, high blood pressure, and history of multiple myocardial infarctions. Okay, so along with me eating that soul food and that grease clogging up my arteries, that is arteriosclerosis, okay? High blood pressure, it can increase high blood pressure, and it ultimately can make you have multiple myocardial infarctions. Myo means muscle. Okay, let's break this down. Myo means muscle, cardial is your heart, and infarction is attack. So multiple heart attacks. Okay, that's what that is. The left side, pulmonary congestion and suffocation. That's what I mean when the heart is pumping like this and then it just starts pumping like this. It's just tired. It just gives out. Okay? The cardiac output is just not enough. It's not enough to facilitate the body. All right? The right side of the heart, peripheral congestion and edema. Okay? All right? All right. I want you to know the thickness. The thickness of these, the reason, arteries are the thickest. And they're the thickest because they have to absorb the biggest blood pressure, the most of the blood pressure. Because why? Because in the aorta, what's happening? The blood is what? Leaving the heart. So that is that 120. That is the 120 over 80 is your blood pressure. So the 120 is when blood is leaving the heart. The 80 is when it's coming back, okay? 80 is when it's coming back. That's going to be a lower pressure. So you have arteries, all right? You have veins, and you have capillaries. That's the thickness. The arteries are the thickest. The capillaries are the thinnest. But the capillaries and the veins, they're thin where they can do gas exchange in the lungs and other places, okay? So gas can leave those veins and leave your body. So if I inhale, I take in what? When I exhale, that's the waste and the byproduct of inhalation and exhalation. So what am I exhaling? CO2. So CO2 is the waste, okay? So it can do that in your veins, okay? That's a little deep for y'all, but we'll get to it, all right? So I just want you to know the thickness. The artery is the thickest, the vein is the second thickest, and the capillary is the thinnest, okay? All right. In capillaries, most of the time the blood pressure is coming back to the heart, so the muscles help move the blood around, okay? So the muscles help push blood around, okay? Capillary beds, I'm not going to really go through that with you guys. That's kind of deeper than what you need to know at this point. Vital signs. The reason we take vital signs at assessment, and that's what you will do next semester. Next semester, I'll have the blood pressure machines here, and it'll be charged to you to take blood pressure on somebody every day, so we get faster and you know how to assess someone. Okay, so we'll do that. We'll do a lab on that, and we'll go from there. All right. Arterial blood pressure, respiratory rate, body temperature, all indicate the efficiency of the system, a cardiac system. Okay? Temperature heat has a vasodilation effect, cold has a vasoconstriction effect. Okay? Vasodilation, vasoconstriction, and you know all this. We've had blood pressure before, and that's it. So for virtual people, your sheet will come as a worksheet here today. People in class will get it physically. That's it for today. That is part 3, and we will continue cardiology until the end of next week. All right? So have a good day.